Alright, guys, you're back with A Good Adventure, Sunny Side Up. This is episode 2. You're with Shawn, Austin, and Adam.
What's going on, guys? How's
Hello.
everybody doing?
I'm doing alright. So I thought we could start off by talking about our ups and downs through the week. So, like, we had given him some advice. I know in our group chat we talked about this more, but for the listeners, Adam was going through last week some leg pains and stuff, and we were talking about one of the other topics I want to touch on is like when your significant other isn't doing the same diet as you.
Okay, yeah, dope. That's actually a really good one.
Okay, so Adam, you want to kick off with your progress?
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, I was having some significant leg pains. Felt like stabbing cramps. Most awful thing I've ever experienced in my life. I think a lot of it had to do with just not replenishing electrolytes. I started drinking, on top of the water I drink every day, I usually drink probably at least, I'd say 40 ounces of Powerade Zero or Propel, depending on what I got in the house. And I mean, it took a day or two, but I haven't experienced the pains in probably about 5 or 6 days, so that's fantastic.
Oh,
Um,
nice. So, what did you do? I'm sorry, not to cut you off, but what did you do differently exactly? You just drank more electrolytes, or?
yeah, just more Powerade, more Propel. Before I was drinking pretty much nothing but like water, and then I would have like maybe a cup or two of coffee, but
Nice.
that was pretty much it. And I think that was the main issue. As soon as I started drinking more Powerade, with my water and stuff, the pains just stopped.
Okay, right on. So it probably was some form of electrolyte issue, whether it be potassium, magnesium, or sodium. Then.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
look online, and I was reading some things because I looked up. I was telling my mom she was listening to the podcast, and so she was also saying when her friend would start up on keto, her legs would also hurt. So I started looking up online, and a lot of people were saying it's magnesium, but either way, it's one of the electrolytes. So just getting those in your body, like we were saying, either because of the keto flu or anything, like kind of need those.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all definitely play their specific roles. So I mean, it sucks that we can't really see like what it was that was causing like maybe if you would have gone like a couple weeks where you just started adding more salt to your foods and stuff or drinking like more salty things like maybe bone broth or something, see if
Mm.
that would have fixed it, because then obviously we would have known it was just a sodium deficiency. um but I mean, as long as you're feeling better, I mean that's what matters, right? So
Agreed.
I just think from like a testing standpoint, it would have been interesting to see and kind of experiment to see like where your body was lacking.
Right, what
That's
exactly
it.
it was.
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly what I try to do anytime I'm feeling sluggish or anytime I don't feel the greatest. I try not to do everything right at once, right? Because if you change multiple things, I mean, that's right back to basic science class. But when you change multiple things and then get a different outcome, well, yeah, obviously something you changed is definitely the cause. So you have causation, but you don't have correlation. So you don't know what is correlated that actually caused the change. So just from a scientific background and a curiosity standpoint, that's what I like to do. Is I like to change one thing at a time to see, hey, okay, this has no effect on it. I can keep this normal and then change another thing and another thing, so on.
Right. As far as progress goes, though, at the beginning of the week, I want to say I think I wrote it down, actually. Uh, it was at 322.8. I weighed in this morning at 320 on the nose. So,
Nice.
lose any more, I will be officially in the three teens, which that'll be exciting.
Ooh, yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's
would be
dope.
awesome.
That's a good rate though for you as well. I know you said you were losing a little bit more rapidly when you first started, which is to be expected. Anytime you go on a low carb diet, obviously, like we talked about in the last episode, you're going to lose a lot of that water. You're going to lose even some of those electrolytes, like Shawn mentioned, and then your glycogen stores are going to get depleted as well. But for someone of a bigger stature like yourself, Adam, it's going to naturally come off faster just because you have more on you to lose. But even now when it's tapering off, you still losing those 2 pounds a week or whatever, about 1.5 to 2% of your total body fat per week.
Hmm.
That's not a bad rate at all. Well, no, it'd be less than that. I think it'd be like 1 to 1.5. So either way, that's still a good rate.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I mean, it's been keeping me really like motivated as well. Seeing
Yeah.
like at least a pound a week is enough to keep me going because like obviously it's gonna take time. It took quite a long time to put this stuff on, but as long as
Mhm.
I know that I'm working towards getting to that healthier point, then I'm happy with it.
Yeah, and I mean, just as a touch point to that, I think that's a big reason a lot of people flock to a ketogenic or a carnivore style or even a cyclical version of both of those diets is because they tend to show a lot of progress right out the gate, which is good in a way because it keeps you motivated. Like you were just saying, it kind of gives you a goal to drive for. You see the changes immediately, so that naturally causes, I mean, pretty much anybody to be all gung ho for, it, and they want to keep putting in that effort. I think it's when you get past those first couple of weeks where you start to see that slow decline where your weight loss will start to become more of a normal rate, like if you were to be on a moderate or higher carb diet and cutting.
Mm.
I think that's where a lot of people start to fall off because they don't see that constant progression anymore. Not even, well, I take that back. Not even constant progression. It's more so that quick progression, right? Everybody wants that quick fix, kind of like how we mentioned in the last episode. And I think once they start seeing that progression slow down is when they start to lose interest because now they're not losing, 3 or 4 or 5 pounds a week anymore. It's more like 1 or 2, which is still insane. Like I don't think people understand how good it is to be losing 1 or 2 pounds a week. Um, those are awesome results. That's nothing to scoff at.
Oh
Right.
yeah, and like I even had a situation where I was talking with my cousin one time. This is when I just started. I think I had just reached 299, and I'm telling him, he's like, "Oh, when do you think you'll have all your weight off by? Like a couple months?" And I'm like, "No, dude. Like if I like take this as I want to healthy lose this, I want to get to where I should be at good rates, right? That's 2 pounds a week. I'm like, I don't care if this thing takes me 5 years. I'm doing this the healthy way. I'm doing this right. I'm not,
Yep.
you know, it it needs to be clear like you're doing this for the long haul. You're doing this for a lifestyle change, not just like the diet. The diet is like what you're eating, but it's a whole
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
changing. You have a problem with food or something else that's going on. You need to change that. That is a lifestyle change. That's not nothing. A diet is like more depending on how you define it. It's either how you're eating, like what difference you're having in your actual food, or it's a quick thing. And no lasting effects will come from a quick thing. So
Right.
Yep.
that's what I took from it. I'm like, hey, I don't care if this takes me 5 years, I'm getting this weight off.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. And I mean, what I really like how you phrase that because that's something I tell any of the people that I help out, and just in general, it's something that I preach is that we as a society, I think we need to stop calling it a diet. So, like you said, how we eat is the diet, not, or I'm sorry, well, it's a little bit of both, right? So how and what you eat can all be considered a diet. But I think as a society, we refer to diet as a segmented amount of time we're eating certain foods,
Yeah,
whereas it
like
should
the
be
term
like you were
fad
saying.
diet.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It should be a lifestyle, like you were just getting at. It should not be, I'm eating X amount of foods for X amount of time because that's my diet and that's what I need to do to lose weight. If you that works to a degree and you will see results, but they will stop and you will most likely fall off that and then regain equal or more of what you lost because you're not adapting any kind of lifestyle, right? You're doing what you have to do. And a lot of the times, these fad diets are diets that are not sustainable. You cannot sustain a 200-pound guy with a good amount of muscle on him and he's trying to lose, the extra 20 or 30 pounds of fat he may have on him. You cannot sustain that on a 1,500 calorie diet. It's not going to work. I don't care what diet you're doing. I don't care what method of diet you're using. It physically will not work. Not because you're not in a calorie deficit, but because you will not be able to stay committed to it and consistent.
Right.
Exactly. And at the end of that, you're just going to go back to exactly where you were beforehand.
Yeah,
It's like a
100%.
lot, yeah. And a lot of these people, they'll say like, "Hey, I went on the celery." Not saying celery juice specifically. It's just first thing that came to mind. I only drank celery juice for 2 weeks. Now I feel great. Now that I'm off it, I'm refreshed. It's like, yeah, because you have the proper nutrients and stuff back in your body. You're running
Yep.
right, and nobody can sustain themselves on a thing of celery juice. You're gonna go right back to your old diet right after you get off of that.
That's why I don't ever get any like these cleanses and these juices. Anytime anybody talks to me about a cleanser or juice, I'm like, you are literally wasting your money. There is nothing that cleanser juice is doing for you that's going to have long-term effects that are actually going to be beneficial to you. You are literally just stripping your body of its nutrients, giving it the bare minimum that it needs to function, and you're seeing quick results, and that's why they sell, is because they get you those quick results, because you're stripping your body of the nutrients, you're depriving it, you're feeding it very, very few calories. And normally during these cleanses or juices, they're telling you to up your activity, which is putting you in a further caloric deficit. So no duh, you're gonna see results from something like that. But the problem is are you going to do that for the rest of your life? Is that going to be something you're going to do every other week? Hell no, you can't. But and so I think that's where a lot of those things come from, is because people want that quick result. People want to see those results within, a couple days or a week or whatever. It doesn't work that way. You might get a little leaner because you're flushing out those liquids and you're drying up or whatever, but as soon as you start taking in real nutrients and real food again, you're going to go back exactly to where you were before. So you're essentially like doing half a skip forward and then taping one skip back. So you're always like a half a skip behind because you're just wasting time at that point. In my eyes, at least. I mean, people have their own opinions on it, but when I look at it and I look at like a juice cleanse or something like that, that's how I feel as
Hmm.
far as.
To kind of go on that, the quick fix that people look for. I'm in quite a few keto groups on Facebook, and I swear to God, all I see is people advertising like these 100% quote unquote natural ketones that you can drink to help keep your body in ketosis. And like out of
Exogenous
curiosity,
ketones, yeah.
I looked into them a little bit, and they get, I think it was a week supply. It was $110.
Mm.
And I'm like, why would you? You don't need that. Like, you can get yourself into ketosis and maintain without the use of ketones. Like,
Well,
and you're not gonna spend $400 a month to do it. I just don't
When
understand. And
the bigger
people
thing
on
with that,
there,
the bigger thing with that for me is if you're having to spend that much money on ketones per week, this is not sustainable. If you can't do
right,
this naturally on your own, you shouldn't be doing keto because it's not sustainable for you. You're just like
right,
Austin was saying, you're gonna fall out of this. It's not something you're gonna last with. Like you're gonna do every other week, drop money on it, pick a like just pick a different diet, like something that is with your lifestyle would mesh better.
yeah, exactly. Like, what's the purpose of spending let's say $800 if you did that for 2 months to see like some weight loss, but then you fall off of it, go back to your normal lifestyle, gain all that weight back. Now you just really threw $800 down the drain because you're not going to be able to stick with it after that.
yeah, and I think the problem with that is people don't want to give it a chance, right? So it really, again, all we're talking about here is harkening back to us as a society coming to the point where all we want is that quick fix and nobody wants to put in the effort to actually see the change. Because if you're someone who's been on a ketogenic, carnivore, or even a ish diet, a keto ish, carnivore ish diet, where like the main basis of your diet and the foods you eat are more geared towards that style of eating, and then you have some other things in there that wouldn't technically be considered keto or carnivore approved foods, that's fine as well if that works for you. But people that have been on those types of diets for a long time, they become fat adapted to where their body gets used to and efficient at using the fat for energy, burning the fat, producing ketones, and using the ketones as energy rather than the glucose. Your body's always going to have glucose in it. Your liver and your muscles will always contain glucose. Obviously, not to the same degree as if you're on a moderate or a higher carb diet. But I think what they don't understand is you would have no need for those. So, for instance, let's take this. Let's take an athlete that is using a ketogenic or a carnivore diet approach, right? If they're busting their ass training and then they're also playing a sport, or even just a higher intensity athlete that's a normal, average day Joe Schmo like us, and they're going in the gym, but when they go in the gym, they go hard, right? When that person is fat adapted, even though, let's say, they do a cyclical approach like I do, where they have carbs around their workout only. So even if they have 100, 150 grams of rice with maybe some honey on it to basically spike their insulin, which you want while you're working out, and to give them that glycogen that fuels their workout a little bit more, that person, as soon as they get done with their workout, some people can be directly right back in ketosis, even though they just had, 50 or 60 grams of carbs all in one sitting. That is absolutely 100% unequivocally going to spike your insulin, which is going to cause you to fall out of ketosis. But because they're so fat adapted and their body is it's multilingual with its fuel sources, right? You're so good at using glucose and ketones as fuel, your body can immediately jump back into ketosis afterward. So once you've been on a diet like that for a while, you don't need exogenous ketones to get yourself back in a state of ketosis, because your body is so good at converting and manipulating the energy that you're giving it to it, because you've been doing it for so long. It's going to do it all on its own. The problem is nobody wants to spend the time and the effort of training their body and getting it to a state where it can do that. They just want that quick, exogenous ketone drop or whatever, or the drink or whatever that will give them extra ketones and promote their body to move into ketosis instead.
Right. No, I absolutely agree with that.
So I know we kind of went off onto a dovetail. What about you, Shawn? How is I feel like that's going to happen a lot on this podcast.
Oh yeah. Hey, that's fine.
Right. So what's going on with you, man? How's your week been?
So I have had an up and a down, and another down and another up. So basically, what ended up happening? Yeah, exactly. I meal prepped everything. I sent it to you guys in the group chat. Like for breakfast, I'm having some like keto bread with almond butter on top and eggs, cheese, a little bit of bacon. I'm having like real good stuff for breakfast, lunch. But now, one of the things that I found with the lunch specifically, because I made, like I was saying on the podcast last week, that cauliflower fried rice. I made that. Don't make that much at once if you're not going to freeze it during the week. We had limited freezer space, so I ended up putting the rice just in the fridge, but in like the back, so every day I would take it. Well, the cauliflower, the rice part of it ended up going bad and stunk up the office, so that was fun. And also got sick from it. So you can imagine
after eating it.
Oh yeah,
like days, or? Okay.
No, just one day of it. I didn't feel bad any of the other days.
The food had been in there. Like
yes.
The food had already been. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, so the food that was in the fridge later in the week, at one point it had gotten bad, and after microwaving it, it had stunk, this and this. For the viewers, I don't have a sense of smell, so I was informed of this afterwards, and I ended up eating it. Got sick within half an hour to an hour. It was a whole ordeal. But I still am on board with meal planning. I'm just thinking now, half a week at a time. Especially with that. That is so quick to make. I think I knocked out 6 of those in, I don't know, maybe half an hour.
Oh,
6
wow.
like servings. And so that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I'm going to make 3 at a time if I'm going to do this again. But yeah, just make sure if you're meal planning, don't overdo it. Do enough so that you can safely house your food. You don't want to eat bad food. Now,
right, obviously.
The good part is I am down, I think, 4 pounds from last week. So,
right on.
Feel amazing. I'm feeling better. I'm awake more, actually doing stuff.
No, that's awesome.
I think I'm going to start walking this week, but we live in like the Michigan area, so a lot of our weather. This is the week of the what is it, May 17th. So it's super rainy and everything the last couple days, so we haven't been able to go walking or anything. But yeah, I'm down about 4 pounds, and I think Amanda said she was down 6 pounds. So we're doing
Nice.
good
that's
on
a lot
that.
for her too.
Oh,
Yeah.
exactly.
About the walking, it's gonna sound so lame when I say this. But what time is it? So it's like just shy of 1 o'clock right now, right? And I've already got my 10,000 steps in for the day.
Mm-hmm.
That's my personal goal, right? Lately I've been trying to get around 15,000 to 20,000 just to increase my NEAT, so my non-exercise activity thermogenesis, just the random activity that you do throughout the day. But it's it's funny because, like you were just saying, obviously being in Michigan, it can be hailing 1 second, snowing the next, and then sunny and 70 degrees 2 hours later. So you have no idea what the hell you're gonna get from day to day. But it's been raining here, so literally, dude, what I've been doing is I've just been walking from my room, which is in the back of my house, to my living room and back. I've just literally been throwing on a podcast or listening to some music and literally just walking back and forth in my house.
Mm.
That it sounds stupid, but I mean it gets the steps in, right? And it's like I why wouldn't I do that when I would just be like sitting on my bed or on my couch or whatever, listening to this or watching this video anyways? Why not move while I'm doing it? I mean, you
Oh,
can't
we
even
haven't
imagine how
been.
many.
Yeah, we haven't been just like sitting on the bed or anything. Like we went yesterday. Like even though it was a little rainy, we go to uh what are those things called? Greenhouses. So we went to a
Oh, nice.
greenhouse to get soil and stuff. We are planting these different plants and stuff. I just planted because I want to make my own hot sauce, right? I bought sriracha plant
Ooh,
and I bought a jalapeno plant because like that spices help build up your metabolism and everything, help that get going. They're healthy, you're adding spice. So that's what
they
I'm
have
going to end up
capsaicin
doing.
in it too, which is nice.
Exactly, which is really nice. That's my favorite part of that. But I ended up, I got some of those. We got some flowers and stuff. So I'm lifting from the ground onto the cart when I'm doing that. If I have to pick up the dirt, it's like deadlifting like 40 pounds a couple of times. Then I have to lift it up to pour it. So I'm getting a little bit of a workout, but like I just want to walk to
Nice.
get that like little bit of cardio to help my heart out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because especially like from being overweight for so long, and I'm not even just overweight, like obese for so long. Like I know there's some heart stuff going on, and I want to help. Like I want to proactively take care of that before I get to a point where a doctor's like, "Yo, this needs to change, or else you're gonna have some consequences."
Right. No, I think that's sweet. That's any activity you can really get in is good. It's in like you were saying, it's not always just about for weight loss and stuff. I mean, cardio is good for your heart. We don't really because we can't see it and it's not on the outside of our body. We don't really remember that our organs are muscles as well. So I mean, working out your heart and getting your heart rate up is just as beneficial, if not more, than doing some bicep curls or you doing a deadlift or some bench
Hmm.
press or whatever.
And they even got like things you can do other like for like cardio reasons other than just like walking back, like the Ring Fit. Like I had that. I think Adam was talking about if you want to go into this more. What was that? The
Insanity.
Insanity. Yeah, he was doing that this week. Like anything really that you can do, and I know Insanity is really good for a lot of people because it has what they're telling you to do. Then they have a person who's showing you the more difficult version of it and a less difficult version, so it can really get through to a lot of people. And if you're starting to feel like, oh my god, I'm so tired, this and this, you can really just like take it down a notch, let it sit for a minute. That or like I
Yeah,
know for us the gyms are closed right now, but what I would do, I would even just go there and hop on a treadmill for like 2 hours and just like speed walk.
yeah, that insanity is nice because it's Tabata style training, so it basically like there's no upper limit, right? So if it tells you to do push-ups for 30 seconds, then it's up to you, right? So if you're somebody who can knock out 50 push-ups in 30 seconds, then it's still going to be challenging for you, just as challenging it is for the next guy that's just starting out that can only knock out 10 push-ups in 30 seconds, but those 10 are challenging for him or her. So I like that style of training. Plus, like you were saying, like they'll give you the harder version. So if you become more advanced where you're knocking out, 60, 70, 80 push-ups in 30 seconds, I don't even know if that's possible. I'm just paraphrasing here. But you can try like a harder version. Like you can do like clapping push-ups or you can do like one arm push-ups or whatever. So I like those kind of trainings because there's no upper limit. When I used to do Muay Thai kickboxing, we used to put some of those in between like our drills. We would have some exercises like that where it's basically get as many done as you can, and that shit'll get your heart rate up, man. It doesn't take much of that. If you're going all out and you're treating it like you're trying to get a good workout out of that, you're putting forth the effort, that you can get one hell of a workout out of something like that.
Oh yeah, and I know inadvertently the Switch game Ring Fit that I was just talking about, that kind of has it. So you have to do, I don't know if either of you, I mentioned it in, I think to Adam, I don't know if y'all had ever seen it, but you can go in and it has a leg strap for one Joy-Con and the other one goes in this ring. And so you have to jog in place. There's difficulty levels so you can like raise it depending on how fit you are. But you'll be jogging until you reach this destination. And then you got to do like 5 of a workout. So you got to do like 20 crunches or this many squats. You can do this many upper arm presses on the ring. So you're doing these like exercises for like, I don't know, 20 seconds or 20 of them. It's depending on what level of the game you're at, but then you go back to cardio. So it's like that Tabata where you still have to do this amount of cardio in this time period, and then you get this break, go back, you can slow it down, speed it up. And then you also have that, hey, I'm actually doing crunches. I'm doing like bicep work trying to squeeze this ring, triceps with it overhead. So you're still getting a little bit of work. It's mostly cardio. It's not like the same as lifting an actual weight like a bicep curl, but it's still getting you moving. It's doing something. It adjusts to your level.
That's awesome. Something. Well, I guess it's kind of different, but as you guys know, like I sell supplements for Redcon, and one of their tier operators, but they posted a video for one of their athletes, and he came up with this thing. It's called the House of Cards workout, and basically all you need for it is a deck of cards. Which I mean, really, who doesn't have at least one deck of cards? How it basically works out is like for each suit, so you have spades, clubs, hearts, and diamonds. Each suit represents a different exercise. So like diamonds was burpees, spades was like lunges, clubs was like squats, and then hearts was like push-ups or something. So what you do is you shuffle the deck. Obviously, each deck has 52 cards, and you give yourself 25 minutes, right? So no matter what, you're going to get a 25-minute workout in, which for most people is not too long. It's not too short. So I mean, you're definitely going to be able to put some work in that 25 minutes. So what you do is you flip over the card. So let's say you get like a 3 of diamonds, right? So diamonds was, let's just say, lunges. So then you do 3 lunges, right? You flip over another card, and then I think it was jacks were 10 reps, queens were 15, kings were 20, and then I think aces were 30. Cards had you basically got to pick any exercise and do 30. But it was just interesting. It was a different way of going about doing it. And as long as you shuffle it each time, you don't know what to expect. Your body's never going to get used to it. And then again, it incorporates some of that Tabata style training where you're basically doing the reps are going to be set, you more reps each time, but you're doing it in a quicker manner. So the first time going through, you might only get through half the deck in the 25 minutes. The second time going through, you get a little more. A couple weeks passes of you doing this a couple times a week or even once a week. Now you're almost through the entire deck in 25 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'll link once we get off here, I'll link you guys the video to it, but he explains it super simple. And again, I mean, it's all body weight, so you don't need any type of equipment. You just need a small space for where you can actually move around a little bit. And it's at your pace, right? So do the reps. If you have to take a second, but try to do everything consecutively without taking any breaks. And then it's random, right? So obviously you want to make sure you're shuffling in between each time because you don't want your body to know what's coming. You don't want it to expect it. So just make sure you shuffle it real well, and then obviously the more you do it, like anything else, the more you practice, the more you train at it, the better you're gonna get. I
Yeah.
just liked it because it was
Well,
something different. It was a different way of looking at it.
yeah, we'll put that link in the description of the this video as well, so that way on YouTube, everybody who's listening, if they're interested, they can click on that.
Yep. Yeah, I like it too because it's a bit of hypertrophy, which promotes muscle building. So it has that aspect to it, but then it also has a cardiovascular aspect to it too, right? Because you're doing these exercises in quick succession without rest. So it's getting your heart rate up, it's keeping that heart rate up in most likely a target zone, especially depending on how big you are, and if you're going all out on it, you're really not doing any kind of lesser reps or whatever. You're going balls to the wall. That's an awesome way of getting your exercises in. And again, it's 25 minutes, right? So it's like, especially now with quarantine and everything, even if you are still working, who doesn't have 25 minutes?
Exactly. So one of the other things I want to touch on is one of the other bad things that happened this week. I had a cheat meal. Now, for the entire week, eating right, getting my macros in, not cheating at all, making sure my calories are good, the whole 9 yards. Now for the cheat meal, I had a couple slices of pizza. But it's once a week, this and this. Sometimes I feel like you kind of need a break. And especially like with work, like I know we start work, Amanda and I at like, I want to say 8 a.m. And we got out at like pretty much 8 or 8:30. I think 8:30 p.m. So we were at work for 12 and a half hours.
Wow. Okay.
So the amount of trying to get home, make everything, But, I don't know, part of me is like, it's I'm trying to stick to my diet, this and this and this. But if I know, hey, I can eat these 2 slices of pizza right now, and I know this is the only time I'm going to cheat, versus I'm going to break my diet and just go all out, this and this and this, I feel like that's kind of an even trade-off. I want to get your guys' opinion on that.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think. Sorry, did you have more to say, Adam? I know you haven't got a chance to get in here in a minute.
I think it's definitely an even trade-off. I'm curious, how did that affect your progress? Like, what did you see after that? Did you weigh the next day and see any difference, or like how did that work?
Yeah, so I went up about like, I don't know if it's from bloating or if I was just retaining water, but I was up like half a pound. You're not gaining half a pound of fat in a day, so I don't know what the thing was with that, but yeah, I felt bloated. So I'm assuming it was water, but I felt bloated. I did not feel right. It was I felt kind of sluggish in the morning getting up because like I said, we got out at 8:30 p.m. By the time like half an hour to 40-minute drive home and then get home, then pick up the pizza, we probably ate around like 9:30.
So, you're currently doing keto, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now how many pieces of pizza did you have?
Like 2.
Okay. So, yeah, I think it's good what you did. Let me preface that again. It depends on you, right? So I mean, like if you can go and have just a slice or 2 of pizza and that's your cheat meal, then that's fine, right? I mean, that if that works for you, it keeps you sane. It curbs some of those cravings for you. And again, like you said, you're only doing it that one time in the week. And again, you preface that it was a cheat meal, not a cheat day. So exactly. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong is they decide, oh, I'm going to have a cheat day. And again, I apologize because I'm going to get a little sciencey on you guys because that's just the best way I know to
go for
explain it. But so let's take that into context, right? If you say I'm going to have a cheat day and you're the type of person that is on keto because you know if you have any carbs at all, you will start overeating. Like carbs just do not satiate you, and especially when it's hyper palatable when you're combining the carbs with the fats. That cheat day could be anywhere from 5 to 7,000 calories, depending on how big your appetite is, how fast you can eat, and then how much your home hormones are off to where they tell you, hey, stop fucking eating. You're full. You don't need anything. So, and I mean, I'm being blunt with that because there are some people that are like that, where their hormones are just so off that they do not kick in and tell them, hey, you are full. There's no need to keep eating. And again, the hyperpalatability of fat and carbohydrates combined plays a huge role into that. But let's take that into context, right? If you're in a caloric deficit, so let's just throw out some broad numbers here. So let's say your maintenance is 2,000 calories and you're at a 300 calorie deficit. So you're eating 1,700 calories, right? So that's a 300 calorie deficit per day. So you're at a 2,100 calorie deficit for the week, right? Now, roughly a pound of fat is worth 3,500 calories. So if we have you at a 2,700 calorie deficit for the week, you are effectively losing about 3/4 of a pound. Well, a little less than 3/4 of a pound. Let's say half a pound a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you go and you have let's say 5,000 calorie cheat day, you just blew all that out of the water. So not only did you just blow your entire deficit. Now, again, this is in context of you not doing any exercise whatsoever, right? If
Correct.
you just blew out your entire deficit, not only did you do that, so if you're at 1,700 calories and you ate 5,000, now you're at 3,300. So you just got rid of your 2,100 calorie deficit, but you also added another 1,200 calories onto your weekly intake. So now not only do we not have you in a deficit, but now you're in a 1,200 calorie surplus. Okay, so everything you just did throughout the whole week, being hungry throughout the week, you craving something, you just flush it all down the drain and basically said fuck all to every bit of progress you just had. So that's why I think it's very dangerous when we get into a realm where we say, or a coach will say, okay, here, have a cheat day. Now, again, the huge context here. If you're a huge dude, you're an athlete, you're working out 2 times a day and you're trying to grow, yeah, go for the cheat day. You need to get those calories in. But if you're somebody like one of us or just an average Joe Schmo that's trying to lose some body fat, get into a leaner and fitter shape, you can't afford to be having those 4, 5, 6,000 calorie cheat days. So to get back to your original question, I think you were definitely correct in making it a cheat meal and only having 1 to 2 pieces of pizza instead of a whole pizza for yourself. But yeah, the experience that you had the next morning of feeling bloated and all, that's exactly what that is. You're holding on to a lot more water because now you have a lot more carbs in your system. You're holding on to a lot more sodium because you have the water, so that's where the bloat is coming from. And then a lot of it can be inflammation as well because you're going to have a lot of anti-nutrients in the gluten and in the other things that whatever company you bought the pizza from is putting in the dough and is putting in their ingredients. Their ingredients probably aren't the best or the highest quality, so you may be getting some inflammation from that as well. But overall, for you asking if the cheat day was like okay or if you think it was a smart idea, absolutely. I think it was a smart idea. I think you handled it real well. I think you didn't go overboard. And as long as you jumped right back on it the next day and got right back to your normal plan, then I say that's absolutely fine for you to do that at least.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
going
I had.
on that.
Oh, continue,
ahead.
Adam.
Going on what Austin said too, like for me it's very important, like if I'm gonna do something as far as a cheat meal, it has to stay as a cheat meal for me because I mean like I'm a man of habit. I will not lie. And like I'll tell you what, when this is all over, I will definitely have a cheat meal and go to Olive Garden and get my pasta that I've been craving
Oh
for the
yeah.
last 3 months. But I also know that this might not end for 2 more months, 3 more months, hell, maybe even Christmas time. We'll see. But to Austin's point, that a cheat day could consist of 5 to 7,000 calories. If I had a whole cheat day, that's probably what would happen. Now, if I go to Olive Garden for a cheap meal, I know when I go, like, obviously I'm gonna get some stuff that I want. I'm also not gonna eat 12 breadsticks like I used to. I'm gonna control myself to like maybe one bowl of soup, and I'm not gonna get never-ending pasta. You know, even though it's a cheat meal, I'm gonna still cut it to those points because I know that,
Smarter choices.
yeah, once I get to a certain point, it's gonna get out of control.
Yeah,
And
it's like
that's
eating what you want versus not just what you want, but also unlimited of what you want. Like contain
exactly.
yourself to the calories to keep that deficit, but you're eating the food that you've been craving and want.
Exactly. Like when we go, even though it's a cheat meal, I'm still gonna watch. Like I'm gonna look at what the calories are and try and like keep things. Obviously, the carbs is probably gonna be out of whack, but I'm gonna try and still like meet everything. I'm not gonna go over on calories for the day, and it's gonna be kind of like a normal day, just more carbs. Whereas
So
before, like me and Al would go, and we'd get never-ending stuffed pasta, and I'd probably sit there and pound at least 4 bowls, not including all the breadsticks and soup I ate.
I think that's good of you because one, it shows you care and that you're still trying to make that progress. And I think that's a smart choice. I wouldn't go anywhere like a buffet or get any kind of never ending deal or whatever.
Right.
However, I would personally, and this is going to sound counterintuitive, but I would personally not worry. I would not worry about what your cheat meal is going to be. Again, with the context of not going to a buffet and not getting any kind of never-ending deal. Um, but just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. Just get what you want, and then once you feel full, even if there's more food on your plate, stop eating. So
Right.
don't or a if you want to order the dessert. But what I would say is do not take anything home and eat whatever you want there. Once you are done there, or once you are done with that meal, that is it. But while you're doing that, enjoy it because what you're doing while it's awesome and it's a good habit to get into, and it's really more of an advanced style of habit to do that even on your cheat days, and you're gearing it more towards a refeed day, which I like, but that's completely different from a cheat day, and I can explain that at another time. But um, if you continue to focus and try to micromanage even those cheat meals, it's not going to feel like a treat anymore. It's going to feel like it's another burden, or like it's another chore you have to do in order to make sure you're on track. Whereas if you just stick with those couple little nuances that I said at first,
Mm.
and then continue to just enjoy yourself during that one and only meal, and then get right back to it, it's going to feel like more of a treat when you have it, rather than you still having to track it, or you still having to focus on exactly what you're eating, how much you're eating, etc.
Yeah, and like what
Gotcha.
Austin was saying, the don't bring anything home. I remember I was watching this weight loss show and it was all about building life habits. It wasn't about a fad diet they went through. That's how I first learned about the caveman diet. This guy was taking the guy he was training to this meat shop and only high quality meats, this and this. Like that's where I learned about the I think it's the bulletproof coffee. It's the coffee with butter in it. So he
Yeah.
was doing
Yeah.
all that. But one of the girls on there, she wasn't on any type of diet like that. She could still have carbs and stuff. But what her trainer said is, hey, once in a while, if you want to go get pie, go to the pie shop. Just get one slice of pie and do not bring anything home. This is your treat for the week. You can eat it. Don't feel bad about eating it. You're allowed to have a treat once in a while, but don't bring anything home and keep it to one slice. Just do that. Enjoy your meal. Enjoy that treat. Just don't bring it home, and you got to go back the next day. You just got to keep going.
Yep. Yeah. It causes it to be a nuisance for you. So like if you home, you cannot tell me that even though it's a cheat day and you're supposed to be back on your plan, back on your normal every day to day style of eating, you cannot tell me that as someone that's trying to lose weight, and that's someone who has had some sort of food addiction or has been unable to control themselves in the past, that you are not going to eat the leftovers that you brought home the next day, or even later in the same day when you start to feel a little bit more hungry. You cannot. Some people can, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about all people, but 99% of people that already have that issue and are trying to lose weight, trying to form those better habits, they will not be able to control themselves. and speaking from experience here because I used to be one of those people, so I know exactly how it feels like. Um, but yeah, it's just like Shawn was saying, it's all about making those habits, right? So you know what is a quote unquote healthy food, right? You know that a chicken and rice and broccoli maybe not be for some people the best meal for you, depending on what diet you're following, but it's going to be a hell of a lot better than you eating pizza by yourself. So
Mhm.
it's about building those habits. Now, am I saying that you should say just fuck all and start eating medium pizzas because before you used to eat a large pizza? No, just because it's better than what you were doing before does not mean it's ultimately good for you.
Right.
So again, you take everything we say in nuance because it's if you're someone who's just starting out and you're trying to find your path, then yeah, eating the medium pizza instead of the large is going to be a better bet for you. You're eating less calories. But now, if you're someone who's already on a correct path and you're doing things correctly, like Adam or Shawn is, then no, that doesn't mean that just because you used to eat a large pizza by yourself in zero point 0.5 seconds doesn't mean you can start going for the medium. Now, Shawn, I know you had a different topic that you wanted to talk about too, and I know we've already been on this one for quite a while. So, do you want to jump to that one real quick so we
Yeah,
can get
yeah.
some in for that?
So one thing, I know Adam had messaged us in the group chat. I forgot it was group chat, private, something. Adam had put it out there. And it's like, what do you do when your significant other isn't on the same diet as you?
Mm.
Now, with me and my girlfriend are on the exact opposite diet, right? Because I'm on keto, I can't have any carbs, but she has a kidney thing, so she has to have mostly carbs. Eating a mostly fat diet will just mess her up, so she has to go carbs. Now, what the kind of for me the good part about that is that I know I can't have any of her food because I do the 5% carbs. So if I have any of hers, like even like 2 bites, will set me over my carb limit for the day. So I really can't be having her food. But what we do, just to kind of keep, because you're in a relationship, you want to eat together, you want to do stuff together. So I take my meal prep food, and then she makes her food, and we'll eat at the same time still. We'll do everything together. We'll sit down, watch a show, or eat outside, do something together while eating. We're just eating different things. Or
Right.
like we'll go like for the few times we go out to get fast food, I'll go and get like a baconator from Wendy's without a bun and without the ketchup. And so I'll get
Nice.
that and she'll get like a chicken sandwich, a salad, something. Or we'll go like this morning. Actually, we went to Tim Hortons. She got a bacon, egg, and cheese on a croissant, and I got the sausage, egg, and cheese on a biscuit because the biscuit you can easily just remove. The cheese doesn't really stick to that biscuit, so you can just take the biscuit off, and now you got your egg, sausage, and cheese. So we can still go to places together and we're going to places that have food options for both of us, but we're not limiting, it's not really affecting us as much as it would normally.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do too. Like, so even though I don't cheat once a week, I just get like, as I said before, like I'll get like Jimmy John's or something, and that's kind of like my treat. And then uh sometimes we'll go like we went to Wendy's, and I kind of did the same thing Sean did. I got the Dave's Double, but instead of the bun, I just asked them to put like lettuce on the top and bottom. So that way it still to me feels like I'm eating a sandwich and it doesn't seem too much different. Obviously there's no bun there, but it still feels like it's something
Yeah, you get the
because
thing to
Right.
pick up for like a burger.
exactly. And before I started keto this time, like I've always been I don't know, I love bread and like I just have a hard time eating meat by itself. It's gotten a lot better now because like I think a lot of it was I just suck at cooking certain things. So like the bread just made it taste better. But like now, like I'm starting to get to the point to where I can eat like a hamburger by itself. I don't need to have a bun with it or cheese. Or like we had Ashley's parents made like a type of stuffed pepper that was keto friendly. And I just took everything out of the pepper. Like I just ate the meat with a little bit of no sugar added Heinz ketchup. and it was delicious. I loved it. Before, I probably would have never ate that, but now I thought it was great.
You
So
know,
it's a lot of changing, like not only like what you eat, but like how you look at certain things.
you might actually benefit from trying at least trying out a carnivore diet. Because that's really all it is. I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. Is you're eating nothing but meat. So like you can have eggs, you can have butter. Basically, any meat is up for grabs. Some people do include dairy as well, so you can eat like some cheeses and stuff. Um, when I first started doing it, that's what I would do. Like I'd have like eggs and bacon in the morning, and then I'd have a whole pound of. I would still go for the leaner meats because I was still cutting at the time. So um, my calories still had to be a little bit lower, and I wanted my protein to be a bit higher just to preserve muscle mass. So I would still go for some of the leaner meats, but I would just have burgers. I would just make burgers out of like a 93.7 or a 96.4 beef, and I would just put slices of cheese over it, and it's it will fill you up. It helps to cut, so you can still use it. You can definitely use it in a cutting scenario. It's a little bit harder to bulk on something like that because of all the fat. It's harder to eat more of it.
Mhm.
Um, but it might be something you'd be interested in trying out because I know for a lot of people too, if you have any kind of inflammation, if you have a lot of autoimmune disorders, it actually takes care of like a lot of people that have eczema, people that have it has actually reversed some people's diabetes completely to where they no longer have to take medication for it. Some people have been able to come off statins by doing the diet. Now, obviously, it's a very restrictive diet. I mean, you're literally only eating meat and then like some cheese if you decide to include cheese and like eggs and stuff. So it's super restrictive and just know that going into it, but it's like after a week or like a week and a half of being on it, it's like it almost changes like your flavor palette on your tongue to where you start craving like salt becomes your new sugar. Like you start craving salt like you would like a sugary item, which is super weird at first, but you get used to it. But what it basically is it's the ultimate elimination diet, right? Because you can survive just on meat. I mean, there's really been no studies so far that have been shown to have any negative effects or that you cannot survive only eating meat, that you need to include any type of vegetables or fruits into your diet. um, so what a lot of people do and what I used it for is I took everything out. I was on it for like 3 weeks, and then I would slowly start to add stuff back in. So like rice was one of the first things I tried adding back in because I liked having it around my workouts to add to the like my glycogen stores for when I was working out to give me that extra push. And so what I did is I only added rice back in, absolutely nothing else except for rice. Like I didn't cook the rice in any kind of oils, just water or the bone broth that I was already drinking because obviously bone broth is still considered an animal product. Um, and what I found is that rice had no effect on me. So I know that like if I was having like some type of autoimmune issue or some kind of inflammation from something I was eating before, I know rice isn't causing it. So me personally, I would be okay with eating rice. And so that's what you would do. So it's not that you have to stay on only eating meat for like the rest of your life, but that's
Mhm.
like the primary base of what I eat. Even now, doing like a cyclical carnivore style diet to where the main base of my diet is meat and eggs, and then I add in some other things like I'll eat lettuce because I have no problem with lettuce, and I add some volume to my food. It's worth literally almost no calories. And then some other things I'll do is I'll add yogurt in. I found that yogurt really doesn't bother me, so I'll have some yogurt. But you can kind of do that to see what works with your body, what foods digest well for you personally, and then add them in to where you have this small variety of foods that you actually really enjoy eating that work well and digest well for your body. So it really optimizes your processes. Um, and really, until further research comes out showing and proving either epidemiologically or interventionally that diet has any kind of negative consequences, I would suggest it for anybody, especially anybody that is already trying a ketogenic approach, because you're basically that's like the starter version of it, right? Is increasing those fats, really lowering those carbs, focusing more on some of the fattier.
Yeah, Yeah, definitely. I think that might be something that I'd be interested in.
Yeah, and
Especially
Jordan,
down the line when I get farther away from the carbs and stuff. It might be a little easier too.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, Jordan Peterson actually was talking about that. I was listening to a
Yep.
podcast he was on, and so he was even saying that, and he's like, you don't when like the standard American tries to like cut something out, right? They cut it out. They're like, oh, this hasn't affected me. Put it right back in a week later. He'll say like in a lot. If you listen to him talk about this, he's like, no, you gotta like wait like 2 months because your body needs to adjust to that being gone or adding it to it. Like not everything happens like the next day. So a lot of things like
Yeah.
with that elimination diet, when you're adding stuff back in, if you're like the next day, oh, I don't feel bad. Wait a couple days. Like, yeah, keep eating it. But just like before adding in a third item, wait a couple days and make sure you're actually feeling good and that like the actual long haul of that food going through your system is good, not just the morning after.
Hmm.
Yeah, and him and his daughter have both been on it for quite a while, and they've actually reduced. Like I know his daughter had multiple issues with her joints and her bones and everything. She's had multiple surgeries even as a child to get a lot of this stuff that you normally wouldn't see until you're elderly fixed. And I know when she went on it, it basically cleared up 90 to 95% of what she was facing, and then the stuff that remained was significantly reduced in pain and irritation. And they focus on the basically the bare bones approach to the diet, like the most extreme version, which is literally just red meat and salt, absolutely nothing else, no eggs, no dairy. They're literally just eating steak or ground beef and then putting salt on it, and that is absolutely it, which is fine. I mean, you could do that too. Again, that's getting more restrictive, so for someone who's not used to being on a restrictive diet, it's gonna tend to cause more cravings for you. But yeah, if you guys want more information on it, I'm definitely not the most knowledgeable person on it. I've been following it for a little while, so I have my own anecdotal experiences. But definitely check out Dr. Shawn Baker or Dr. Paul Saladino. Both of them are huge advocates for it, and they both have a lot of good information. If you go and check out their YouTube channels, or I actually have both of their books and have read them, and they're actually pretty informative. They're really eye opening.
Yeah, I definitely would be interested.
Yeah.
I think
Um,
it might be something good, especially like, if I stick with this, but like, I lose the weight and I kind of want to just try something new. That might be something too.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's about feeling good too, right? So I mean, like a lot of people they go on this diet. It has some weight loss effects to it again because if you're going on a carnivore diet, you're pretty much going to consistently be in ketosis because you're pretty much eating zero carbs whatsoever.
mhm.
Um, but it has, and again, these are anecdotal evidence. So, I mean, it's not like it's been proven through an interventional or an epidemiological study, but to me, anecdotal evidence, which is basically me saying, "Hey, this is what happened to me." It's not backed by any science proof, but you're basically giving your testimony to, "Hey, this is what happened to me when I tried this." That's just as good evidence, in my opinion, as any kind of study can show you. Because if you're doing something and it's irrefutably changing how your body reacts and how you're physically and mentally feeling, I don't give a shit what any other study shows. That's enough evidence for me to show, hey, for this person at least, it's doing something and changing something for them that could be life altering.
Mhm.
No, I mean we could say the same thing about crack cocaine. Like I feel like I really need to run through the drywall, and even though the studies for crack cocaine show that it's probably not the best for you to consume, but that's completely different, right? We're talking about an exogenous drug that's not meant to be taken compared to like a diet that if we look back we can see that our ancestors have lived off of for millennia.
Mhm.
I saw that was, I mean, again, huge, huge tangent from the original question and topic, but no, I just think it's interesting. I think it's something that, being that you guys are already kind of going down that path and getting your feet wet in the keto area, it might be something else you further want to experience later down the road.
Yeah, I might think about that because, like, for me, whenever I'll have, like, I talked about this last podcast, I look at a tortilla and I start getting gassy, you know? And,
Hmm.
like, the amount of carbs just correlates directly to that for me. Like, I can tell, like Amanda had said, like, oh, yeah, like, you're not as gassy when you're on this diet, this and this. Like, the second I stop eating those carbs, it's almost like day and night. So I might think about that because right now I think, what am I eating? The only carbs I'm really doing are the cauliflower, some veggies, the sola bread. And I think that's pretty much it. Other than that, I'm doing like mayonnaise, which is oil and egg. You know, it's a habanero mayonnaise, so there's also like habanero in there. But I'm doing that, salmon, mostly meat. So yeah, that wouldn't be that big of a jump for me.
Yeah, the if I would like to see how you react if you take the mayonnaise out, because pretty much any industrial or flavored mayonnaise that you find on the supermarket shelves nowadays, the single most used ingredient in it is going to be soybean oil, and soybean oil tends to be extremely inflammatory for
You know
most
what?
people.
Let me go check.
So, you know, I can guarantee you it's probably going to say soybean oil in there. I've yet to find a mayonnaise that you can find on a supermarket shelf that does not have that ingredient in it. Either soybean oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil. They're all just commercially made oils that are not good for you at all, and they tend to be extremely inflammatory for most people that consume them. So, as an experiment, I'd like to see how you would react if you were to take that out of your diet for like a month and see if what changes they would make, if any.
Yep, the very first on the habanero one is high olic sunflower oil,
Yep,
and
and
then
that's
that's
nothing but processed oil.
yeah, and this is the one that's like Whole30 approved, keto diet, non-GMO, good stuff, yada yada.
See, and that's the thing. It's funny that it says that on there because that's one thing that when you're doing something like a ketogenic diet or a carnivore diet that you have to be cautious of, because you're going to get a lot of these people that are just trying to make money, and they might have something out there where it says on the packaging, keto approved or keto cookies or whatever. Just because it says keto cookies or keto approved on it does not mean that it is the greatest for you. Now, again, context and nuance matters here. If you're someone who's overweight and you're just trying to lose weight and you have the calories to fit in that mayonnaise and it helps you stick to your diet, then by all means, keep eating that mayonnaise and go for it. But once you start getting more into the weeds on this stuff and you start learning and understanding your body, what works for you and what's going to be most optimal for you to function properly, you probably want to remove any of that peanut oil, safflower, sunflower, soybean, any of those plant and hydrogenated oils from your diet, because a lot of times those can be what's causing you to stop your progression. Not necessarily that you're at a plateau or that you know, that you're doing the diet wrong or that you're not consistent enough with it. It could be the types and the quality of food that you're consuming.
And you know what? That's interesting because, well, one, I have remind me to talk about the keto approved label in a second here, but they have like all these different like almond butters and stuff like that, like as the alternative to peanut butter. And so one of them that I know my mom had tried this once, and then I had it. It tasted good, but it was sunflower oil peanut butter,
Mm-hmm.
which from what you're saying is yeah that that probably
Yeah, no,
would.
I mean, peanut butter's nice, almond butter's nice, cashew butter, all of that. It's obviously tasty, right? But all these things are adding unneeded sugars. And again, this is like, if you want to be an absolute zealot about it, then yeah, I can come on here and say, oh, they're terrible for you. It's all made of fake shit. Don't eat it. But that's the thing, right? We live in a society nowadays where food, eating, going out to eat, eating with, significant others and eating with family, that's a huge part of how we interact. Even when it comes to work and you go out with, a customer, or you go out with like a boss or whatever for a meeting and you eat. That's a huge part of our everyday lives in our society now. Are you telling me you're going to go to one of those functions and say, "Oh, I can't have that because it's fake and it's not natural. It doesn't come from there." No, come on. Like, be real. But if you're someone who's looking to optimize and better their health and you have some underlying conditions that you just cannot figure out what's wrong, you might want to look into some of that stuff and see, hey, could this be something that's causing, X, Y, and Z to me? And is now they're not going to what I tell you is,
Well, Austin, you're gonna have to repeat yourself in a second. Your mic is doing that cutting out thing.
oh,
Try it again. Oh, I can't hear it all.
Yeah, I don't hear him either.
hear me, guys?
Yep, there we go.
Can.
Weird.
Oh, it's doing it again.
By getting it,
Losing you.
We're trying to
robot
communicate
Austin
with
over
aliens.
here. Is that the WoW transmission?
We'll get the metal strainers for hats.
Get the tinfoil out, Adam. Need to protect ourselves.
Yo, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, now I can.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I need to get my my Wi-Fi checked in my my house apparently because I pay them way too much money for this to keep happening.
Hmm.
But I mean, the basis of what I was just trying to get at is that nowadays with society and everything, when you go out and you go to eat or whatever, go out, eat, have fun. When it comes to you eating at your house, try to think about some of these things you're eating and some of these products that contain these different ingredients that probably aren't the best for you. And the sad thing is that a lot of times when you go to your doctor and you have some underlying condition that you just cannot figure out what's wrong with you, they're not going to explore diet a lot of the times to figure out and help you. They're just going to try and figure out what pill they need to prescribe you to help your issue. So you need to kind of look into some of these things in your diet if you are continuing to have issues and whatever you're doing is not helping to fix it. Now, again, if you're somebody who's just looking to lose weight, and again, like you're having something like mayonnaise, like Shawn was just saying, and that's something that you really like, it helps you stick to whatever that item is or whatever that meal is on your plan, by all means, go for it. If peanut butter is in one of your meals, if almond butter is in one of your meals, then eat it. I just think that once you get down and you get past those goals and you learn about yourself, we need to look into other ways to increase your health and other ways to optimize what you're currently doing.
The touch too on the whole segment about keto approved foods that you see in stores. Like, I know one of the big ones is Slim Fast came out with their own line of quote unquote keto foods. So like I was looking at some of their stuff. I like their shakes for when I need to get something really quick in the morning. I think for 2 scoops, it's like a total of 6 or 8 carbs. I only do one with some almond milk, so I cut it in half. So it's really only about 4 carbs at max, and that's like total, not net. But you look at their like fat bombs and their bars, they have a total of like 15 to 20 on some of them of carbs per bar per fat bomb, and they advertise it as there's only, I think it was like 2 net carbs or 3 net carbs in the bars. And people, like, I know a lot of people in my Facebook groups, they see that and they're just like, yeah, I can have these, and it's not that bad because it's only 3 carbs. But they're not thinking like it might be only 3 net carbs, but if you eat like 2 of these and then you have another 30 or 40 carbs throughout the whole day because you think you're under a certain net, you're still going to consume like 70 or 80 carbs, and that could throw you out of ketosis. But they think that they're doing good because they're eating what is labeled as keto approved foods.
Oh, and even with that label, there's 2 things with that. Like, one, I saw something. I was at Ollie's yesterday, and we were getting pork rinds. We found the Max brand salt and vinegar there. We have been looking for that for like 2 weeks. Finally found an entire box of 8 of them. Bought them all. But So when we saw something on the wall, it said keto approved, this and this, and I looked at it. One serving was 18 grams carbs net,
Right.
and it's like that's
Net.
not keto, yeah. And so that's
Jesus.
yeah, exactly. So don't just look at something that says keto approved. Like actually look at what the back says, because a lot of times it's not actually going to be that. But also there's when you're looking at these things, like I know Austin was saying this with the fiber last week, but even like sugar alcohol, they're like, well, this is actually 0 grams because your body can't absorb sugar alcohol. Well, it does, not fully. So when it says 8 grams, I think I read a thing that you're absorbing roughly half of it. So you're actually
Yeah.
getting that 4 grams, but it says technically 0. But you're still absorbing stuff from that because your body's doing its thing. So you're getting about half of that. So no, it's not 0. You're still getting 4, even if it says 8, which is low. Some things
Mhm.
have like 20 grams sugar alcohol, and so you're getting 10 grams out of that. For some people, that'll break you right out of ketosis.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, let's just put common sense to use here. I mean, you're consuming these sugar alcohols, right? So like I think one of the biggest proponents of this is Quest. So if you have like a Quest bar or whatever, their bars will have like 14 or 15 grams of fiber in them, and it's non-soluble corn fiber, which means when it says non-soluble, that means your body cannot, the solutes in your body cannot digest it. So it's literally just going to pass through you and become poop at the end of the day, right? Your body has no use for it. It can't do anything. So a lot of people say, okay, that's net because your body can't consume it. It's not actually counting the calories for it because your body is not actually using it, and it can't physically store it. But we got to think here, right? We're still consuming it and it's still going through our body. It still contains molecules just like anything else in this world does, right? Your body is still doing something with those molecules. So just because we can't see it on a grander scale does not mean it's not having some sort of effect on it. So now is like a Quest bar a good alternative for if you're on, like, if you're a beginner on a keto diet and you're trying, that's the alternative from you having your daily Snickers bar or whatever? Hands down, absolutely. Obviously. I mean, make the smarter choice. But when we're talking about overall health and you're talking about cutting basically the blatant shit out of your diet, that's probably something you should try to avoid putting in your diet. It's not needed, and it has a bunch of things in it and chemicals that your body has no use for.
Absolutely. And it's funny you bring up Quest. We actually have a Quest bar that we got. I actually bought it because we were gonna try it, and I'm looking at it right now. I haven't ate it yet, merely because I like I track net carbs because net carbs helps me keep on track for my total. I still track total as well though. I just if I do net, it seems to help me stay under like I try to stay between 30 maybe 35 carbs a day. Usually it's less. I'm usually at like 20 to 25. But um I was looking at it and I'm like, okay, so it says what did it say? It says 4 grams of net carbs. That sounds great when you look at it. You look at the back of it though, and it's 21 total carbs. So if I ate this, then like if I'm eating just like some meat for dinner or something and I only plan on eating dinner and this for the whole day, then it might be okay. But if I look at it and I think I'm just eating 4 carbs if I'm just tracking net and I'm like, okay, I ate net carbs, I have 25 net carbs for the day, I think I'm doing great. But this is another one of those things where if you don't actually read the label, it could sneak up on you and it could very well kick you out of ketosis without you even knowing it. And you like if you don't look further into it, you won't know what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. You just really got to be careful about that stuff. Because I mean, the ultimate at the end of the day, what are they trying to do? They're trying to sell you a product, right? So
Mhm.
keto right now is the big fad, right? It's the big new thing. It's the, well, not new thing. It's been around forever, but it's being popularized right now, right? So what are companies trying to do? They're trying to sell you stuff that's keto, quote unquote keto, because they know that's what people are looking for. People want those keto alternatives. They want the keto brownies, the keto cookies. They want to basically eat everything that they currently eat now, but on their keto diet because it's quote unquote supposed to be healthier. right?
Mm.
If you look at something like a carnivorous diet, what are they selling you that's carnivore proof, right? You can't, because the only thing you're eating on carnivore is eggs, beef, or meat, and then cheese if you choose to include it. What can they sell you there? They're not going to sell you a meat shake. Like, you can't, right? There's nothing to sell you, and that's why you don't hear about it, and that's why you don't have all this hoopla over, oh, these carnivore cookies. It's like, really, you're gonna give me a cookie made out of meat
Hmm.
and it's supposed to taste like a cookie? Like, you can't. There's no market there. You can't sell anything.
That sounds so
So
disgusting.
because the misinformation of, oh, count your net carbs, and erythritol has no effect, fiber has no effect, sugar alcohols have no effect on your, that immediately makes them free game. No, it's still going in your body. You're still consuming it, but because corporations can basically use that misinformation against you to basically sell you a product that is claiming it does something that it doesn't, but because nobody is none the wiser, they can still sell it to you without any kind of lashback from unknowing people to no fault of their own. I mean, they're given wrong information, and unless they have enough gumption to go out and research it on their own and look up the facts on their own, they don't know any different.
I
That's
mean,
why you
even
don't see
like,
these. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, even like, you're talking about like they can't add stuff to meat. Sometimes you got to be careful. Like when you go to like a restaurant, when you order like a steak, a lot of times unless you know the restaurant and know their process. Like if you order like, let's say, gyro has gluten in it because when they're processing it, they add it because they think it makes it taste better. So that's not even a carb-free meat. So some places you go to will put seasonings or something on the meat that you're getting. But if you're like how we were saying, like you go to the store and you pick up your steak, that's raw steak. You're not getting anything in that. You know exactly what you're getting, and you can't really fib on that, you know?
Mm.
Yeah, so I mean, well, any meat really, whether it's chicken, steak, ground beef, pork, fish. Well, not so much fish, maybe some out there, but most meat in general still has trace amounts of carbs in it. Now, again, this is not a lot. It's not even enough to register on a label, right? But it's going to have trace amounts of carbs in it. But what Shawn just brought up is a great point. So go to restaurants, go out to eat, spend time with your family and your wife, boyfriend, whatever you're into, and do your own thing. But just know that when you're going out to those restaurants, you have no control over what's going in your food like you do when you're cooking it at home. Even if you tell them, hey, don't cook this in butter, I just want whole eggs, bacon, you don't know what kind of bacon they're giving you. You don't know whether the cook is actually going to listen to those instructions and not cook it in butter or cook it in oil like you normally. You don't know where the eggs are coming from, if they're free range, if they're pasteurized, if they're just everyday, 89-cent a carton eggs from Kroger. I'm not saying those are bad. There's probably better options, but you have no idea, right? There's too many variables that you can't control. Whereas if you get it directly from the supermarket, or if you buy directly from a rancher or whatever, you know exactly or pretty much what you're getting, and you can account for that.
Yeah, and going on that about the like whole you don't really know what restaurants are putting into the meats that you order. For instance, like hamburger for the most part, it's pretty much zero carbs. Like Austin said, there is trace amounts and everything, but it shouldn't be much. Now, if you go to Chili's and you look up their nutritional information for their food, if you get just a hamburger patty there with no cheese, no nothing, just their beef patty, it's 4 carbs. Now, what they put in it, obviously I have no idea, but it shows that you do need to look into certain things when you go out to eat because you don't know how they cook it. You don't know what they put into it because obviously something makes it taste the way it does, and it's probably not just a patty of just beef. There has to be seasoning. There
Yeah,
has to
they'll put
be other
like
things in
garlic and
there.
stuff in there.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And that's it. That's something that's very important to think because like even if you go to I don't know, Texas Roadhouse, and you just get a steak and some broccoli. If you look it up, their broccoli, whatever they season it with and cook it in, when you look at it was fuck, where was it? It was Logan's. I think their broccoli said it was like 8 carbs for a serving. Whereas I at home, can make a whole head of my broccoli, like the broccoli crowns I get, and I think for a whole cup of it, it's like 4, which is more than
Well,
I'm getting there too.
and it's a great point you bring up about seasonings too, because something like what you just, or I can't remember if it was you or Sean that just said it, but garlic. For some people, garlic is extremely inflammatory. It bloats them, it inflames them, and depending on if you have an underlying issue where if a certain part of you gets inflamed, it causes you pain or what have you. If you're putting seasoning on your garlic and you're trying like a keto or a carnivore diet and you're just seasoning your meat with garlic, you're like, hey, I don't get it. What gives with this diet? It's not working. I'm still feeling inflamed. I'm still being bloated. It could be because of the seasoning you're putting on it. So,
Hmm.
that's why I think that if you're already going down and you're exploring a ketogenic approach, I think even just for a challenge, like a 1 week challenge, a 30-day challenge, however it is, you go straight carnivore the entire time. Just eat nothing but, like, I would say meat and eggs. Whatever meat you want, eggs. I would try to stay away from most sausages because a lot of them are cured and have sugars added to them and carbs, kind of like we were just talking about. A lot of your smoked sausages will have that. But I would stick to like your beef, your bacon, your steaks, your salmon, um, things of that nature. Your pork rinds, if you can find them, try to get the plain, no flavor ones. That can kind of be like a snack that you put in there, and try it out, and then try to start adding stuff back in, and then you'll start to learn what affects your body negatively, what's positive, because it could be different. For me, rice has no effect on me, which is awesome because for me, I find that rice digests very quickly. It's a simple carb. So when I eat it around my workout, it gives me that boost of glycogen real quick and I can use it to fuel my workouts. For other people, rice might completely fuck them up. Like it might tear them up from up to down and they can't have rice. But if they have potatoes, they're perfectly fine. So it's about finding what works for you. And I think the carnivore diet, if you follow it strictly for a short period of time and then start adding things back in slowly, I think it's a great way for you to truly understand and find that connection between you and your body to figure out what works for you best.
Hmm.
Now, right
So
now, where
go
are
ahead.
you getting? Because like I know I'll go to like, I mean, if you want, we can talk about this off air because specific stores. But where are you getting your meat from? Because I know whenever I go to like Ollie's, Aldi's, any of those, or not Ollie's. Let me rephrase that because they don't sell that. When you go to like, I don't know, Aldi's, Kroger, Meyer, I can never find like a good amount of like red meat. It's always like chicken breast or something like that. So where are you getting that from?
Right. So, originally, I was getting my meat from Kroger. That was just like my go-to store because the bone broth that I drink, for whatever reason, I've only been able to find it at Kroger. There's a
Mm.
couple other things that I get, certain brands that I prefer that I find the best at Kroger. So I would naturally just get my meat there. Obviously, get everything all in one swoop. So I would normally stick, even if you're on a carnivore diet where you're eating higher fat foods, if you're still trying to lose weight, I would try to stick to some of the leaner cuts. So your 90-10, 93-4, some places will have 95-5. I've never personally found that. I know, I think Adam was talking to me one day, and I believe you found it at Trader Joe's, didn't you?
Yeah, I think it was 95.5 or 97.3, but it was really like lean meat.
Yeah, so that's awesome. You're probably gonna find those at more of like your Costco's, your Sam's Clubs, your Trader Joe's. But where I'm currently getting my meat from is called Piedmontese. It's an actual ranch, and they 2 days ship it to my house. Now, let me preface this by saying it's quite more expensive than getting it from the store. So the meat that I get is 96.4. If you go to a store like Kroger, at Kroger, I was getting it for it'd be roughly about $7 a pound, so that's quite expensive. Um, for Piedmontese, that's about $9 a pound. So again, it's more expensive, but it is also grass fed and grass finished. So the difference, so listeners and you guys as well know, if something says it's grass fed, that does not necessarily mean that it has been fed nothing but grass for its entire life. That means that it was fed grass for either the beginning or the end of its life, and either or it was fed grain to basically fatten it up. It's fed cornmeal or whatever grains the rancher has on hand. When it says grass finished, that means it was finished. It was finished when the animal was killed to then be butchered and sold for meat. That it was completely fed nothing but grass. So you're going to find that even when the package says grass fed, the grass fed, grass finished is going to be even more expensive than just the grass fed. So just a little side note as far as that goes. Now, I personally, right now, can afford to buy my meat from Piedmontese at that type of premium. It's a little bit more expensive than I would like, but I can still afford it. If you're someone who's just trying to make carnivore diet work, you're trying to just get started or get something simple moving, then you getting the $5 per pound 93.7 ground beef from Kroger, there's gonna be nothing wrong with that. Is it gonna be the highest quality beef? No, probably not, but it's still gonna get the job done. Again, when we're looking at fat loss in pretty much any context, you just being on a consistent diet, making sure you're getting in the correct foods and that you're in a calorie deficit, that's what's most important. When you get more advanced and you're trying to really, train, really get better at whatever you're doing, whether it's powerlifting, bodybuilding, strongman, whatever you're doing, CrossFit, that's when we need to start looking more into, hey, where is the quality of food that I'm eating right now? Because at that point, that's when it will start hindering your progress. Looking at the quality of food you're eating. But if you're just trying to lose weight, like for you, Adam, it would be fine. You grabbing the 93.7 or Kroger or Meyer or whatever, it's going to be fine. You're getting the point across, and you're still getting the basics and your baseline for the diet.
Okay.
Piedmontese, they're really good. This is the first time that I ordered from them. Basically, I got 12 pounds of 96 4-ground beef for just over $100, and
And how long does that last you?
I generally eat a pound of beef every day, unless I go out with someone to eat, or I have someone come over and they're eating. Then obviously I may not have that, but generally I'll eat a pound of ground beef a day. So if I'm getting 12, it's going to last me for days. So I ordered that last week. I still have, I think, 4 or 5 pounds left. So just to make sure I have a constant supply, I'll probably order either today or tomorrow. One thing to note with them is they only ship out on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I believe. They don't ship out on Thursday or Friday. But when you do buy with them, if your order is $99, which it's pretty easy to get to that amount, you get free 2-day shipping.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
But
so if you order like Monday or Sunday, it's gonna come through on Monday, and you'll get it by Wednesday.
Yeah, pretty much. And it pretty much came exactly when they said it would, and it came in this big box. It was nice because it was completely frozen, and if they were hard as blocks. So if I wouldn't have been home for whatever reason when it arrived, it could have easily sat on my porch with the weather we're currently having, and the meat would not have been different. One thing I noticed, I have not ordered any of their steaks yet. You can order some of the more unique steaks, like your tomahawk ribeye with the bone in. You can order a bavette steak, which is a lot like flank steak. It's a lot leaner. But what I've noticed with any of their steaks is they tend to be a lot leaner than your typical steak you would get from the store or your local butcher. So like a ribeye steak is normally a 1-for-1 protein to fat ratio. So it's normally around like 24 grams of protein, 24 or 23 grams of fat. Their ribeyes are like for the 4-ounce portion is like 24 or 26 grams of protein, and it's only like 10 grams of fat. It's nuts. Like I don't know how they get their fat ratios on their steaks and all so low while keeping the protein as high as it is, but it's nuts. The thing with this meat too, being that it's grass fed, grass finished, it tastes different. So like even when I throw the stuff in the pan and it starts cooking, just the smell is a completely different smell than you're used I like it though because it means I don't have to go to the store. that's the that's
Yeah.
the biggest reason, especially right now. And I mean, especially right now with how everybody is and the way the stores are, like a lot of the stores, even like, especially Kroger, which obviously was my main go-to before, they're limiting how many items, meat items specifically, that you can get. So if you're someone like us that's trying to stick to a style of eating pretty strictly, or if you're like a bodybuilder or a powerlifter where you need to get in a specific amount of calories coming from specific foods, it's hard for you to stock up on things like that. And even though it's a little bit more expensive, in my eyes, it's worth the extra money for me to get it from Piedmontese.
Hmm. Well, yeah, and especially like how we're saying, like with quarantine and stuff and stores being shut down, they're limiting how much you can get. Like I even found that like I can't get realistically any kind of red meat. Like Amanda was trying to cook burgers the other day, and we had to get those little tiny packs that cost like $9. The superior meats, yada yada,
Yeah,
grass fed, this and this, like whatever's on the label. But the real tiny ones that only have enough realistically for one cooked patty for like $10. Which at that
yep,
point, going to the place you're going to is cheaper, just because of the selection that's left over.
Yeah.
yeah. It's nuts, man. It's, if anything, it's definitely a plus during these times. Now, once we get out and things get back to some sense of a normalcy coming here in the next weeks or months or whatever,
Hmm.
I don't know how that'll be. I'll probably still order from them, especially if their service is consistent and the meat that I receive from them is consistent, and they all come nicely packaged and everything. So I think, and again, it's leaner than normal 96.4 ground beef, because their their 96.4 ground beef normally for 4 ounces is like, I want to say it's 22 grams of protein and like 4 or 5 grams of fat per 4 ounces. Theirs is like 26 grams of protein and only 3.5 grams of fat.
Okay.
So even if you're somebody who is um, doing like a moderate or higher carb diet, and you still want to include ground beef and the red meat in your diet for the vitamins and the minerals that it has, it's something you can easily make fit your macro if you're
Hmm.
someone who can't necessarily have a whole lot of fat in their diet. Obviously, for us being that we're primarily doing a keto or a carnivore style diet, it works perfect.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that because that's, and especially I'm gonna look into more, especially with Amanda with her kidney stuff. There is a lot of stuff online saying that like you can't have like a lot of this kind of meat because of these effects. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure that's what they were telling Jordan Peterson and his daughter. So
Yeah,
like yeah. I mean
it's
everything with anecdotal evidence, but
right for sure. And definitely, once we get off air here, I, maybe not today, but another day, I definitely talk to you about what she has, because, and obviously, I am no expert. I don't claim to be, but what I found in any of the books and the research that I've done, and 2 or 3 years ago, I probably wouldn't have even thought about this, but now with the time that I've taken to learn for my own, I've learned that there's a lot of doctors nowadays that are not educated and are not taking anything away from those doctors. Obviously, they put their time in. They had to get their certification degrees, which takes. But I think that they just do not keep updated with the times and how nutrition is changing, the new information we're
mm,
finding out about nutrition. So a lot of times, you can go to a doctor nowadays if you have an issue, and they'll tell you, "Oh, I mean, you need to eat less, you need to move more, you need to eat less saturated fat, eat more whole grains." And that's completely ass backwards. We know that there's a lot of issues that whole grains actually cause nowadays, and the whole grains might not necessarily be bad for you. We also know that there is no correlation between eating a higher saturated fat count and your HDL or LDL cholesterol. So we know that it has no effect on cholesterol. If anything, the saturated fat promotes your good cholesterol over your bad cholesterol. So there's another point.
yeah. And
Um,
when I was on the keto, that was mostly meat based for a while. It was
mhm.
like me personally, I felt my best when again, it's probably the type of meat I was eating, because I was eating the like Kroger $2 meats. So that probably had a huge effect on that. But
Yeah.
I was on the mostly meat, and I got my like all my levels checked and everything. And my HDL, my LDL were both like fine. They were on the upper scale of fine, but because my LDL, the good cholesterol, was high enough, it's like, yeah, no, I'm good. And they, like, you'll hear all these doctors and stuff saying like, oh no, you can't do that because this. Again, my experience, anecdotal here, my levels were fine.
Mm-hmm.
And with all that saturated fat, I know especially my parents were worried. They're like, oh, your cholesterol's probably through the roof, this and this. Well, one, I lost all this weight doing it. Two, my levels are fine, you know? At what point are we going to say maybe the textbooks that are being used are outdated versus what's actually happening?
Yep, exactly, and that's definitely one thing that I've learned in both the books that I've read from Dr. Shawn Baker and Dr. Paul Saladino. And again, even when you're reading those books and they're saying some things that are to the contrary of what our general belief is nowadays, you have to think, okay, obviously they also have a bias. They also have an agenda that they're trying to push on you. So one thing I've learned definitely in the last year is to do your own research, and if anything, do your research on the opposite opinion, and then make your own conclusion from the information you get from both sides. And I've definitely done my fair share of that, and I found that a lot of what Dr. Paul Saladino and Dr. Shawn Baker have stated is very true when it comes to the quality of foods we're eating. That we should be eating more of a primarily meat-based diet, and then that's really what our ancestors grew up eating. Our ancestors didn't have these processed foods, these processed grains, wheats, and all. They had to hunt for their food. They ate the entire animal organs and all. Now you don't have to necessarily go that extreme on it, but I just think implementing more of a meat-based diet, I think would be beneficial for everybody. And obviously, cutting out the processed garbage that we basically have on the store shelves nowadays is definitely the best step for anybody to take if they're just trying to start. How many?
Yeah,
Hey, Shawn, do you have a count on how long we've been going? I know it's been a while.
1 hour 37 minutes.
Oh, it's not as long as I thought it was. It's about the same as last time.
Yeah,
Speaking of that, I do have to get out of here in a minute. I got some
same.
stuff I'm doing with my dad today for his birthday.
Oh,
Oh,
well,
happy
wish
birthday
him
to
happy birthday.
Papa Adam.
I'll let him know. Yeah, we're making dinner for him. We're taking it over to his house because his oven's broken, and we were gonna grill,
Oh,
but yeah, it's kind of raining, so I'm baking the stuff in my oven and then taking it over there to feed him with it.
nice. Yeah, well, I think we got a lot of stuff covered here. We definitely won off on a lot of good tangents, but a lot more great information for anybody listening, and just in general, good discussion.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I enjoyed our discussion today. As far as next week goes, I will be at my mom's for Memorial Day. So I don't know if I will be able to get on Saturday or Sunday.
We can do Friday.
I was gonna
Yeah, we can
say
figure.
I
Yeah,
can
we'll
do it
figure it
from
out
my
off
phone.
air.
I can do it from my phone, like Friday night while we're heading down there, if that's cool with you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, we can figure it out. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll figure something out. We'll get it on here.
Okay, yeah, for sure. We'll,
I mean, we
we'll
don't
talk
even
about
have to
for
do
sure.
it on the weekend. It could be Thursday. Who knows? But yeah, we'll figure it out.
Definitely. Okay, cool.
All right. Well, thank y'all for listening. Hope y'all have a good and productive week. Don't have too many pitfalls. Hopefully this helps all of you stay on track and or start your own journey. Who knows? Don't know where you're at. Don't know your prerogatives. But yeah. All right. See y'all later.
Peace out, guys.
See you guys.